Hello and welcome back. So, today we'll be continuing the lesson The Girl Who Was Anne Frank. If you have not watched the first part, I request you to please go back to my channel and watch the first one. So, now let's continue with the lesson
Courageous Leader. On August 4th, 1944, one German and four Dutch Nazi policemen suddenly stormed upstairs. How the secret of the annex had been revealed is not known. "Where are your money and jewels?" they shouted. Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Van Daan had some gold and jewelry. It was quickly discovered. Looking round for something to carry it in, one of the policemen noticed Otto Frank's briefcase. He emptied it on to the floor, barely giving a glance at the notebooks. Then the people of the annex were arrested.
So now on August 4th, 1944, one German and four Dutch Nazi policemen they understood that those people were in the hiding and they suddenly stormed upstairs. They went inside, and how the secret of this annex was revealed, no one knows till now. And immediately, as soon as they went inside, they started asking for money and their jewels. Now, Mrs. Frank and Mrs. Van Daan, they had some gold and jewelry, and they quickly gave it to them. And looking around for something to carry it in, they saw the briefcase of Otto Frank, in which Anne Frank had stored her diaries. So they just opened it, emptied it, throwed it on the floor. They didn't even look at those books. They just threw it on the floor. They put all the gold and jewelry and money in that, and they arrested them.
In the beginning of September, while the Allied armies were rapidly approaching the Netherlands, the Franks and Van Daans and the dentist were carried in cattle trucks to Auschwitz, the Nazi death camp in southern Poland. There the Nazis separated Otto Frank from his wife and daughters without giving them time to say farewell. Mrs. Frank, Anne, and Margaret were marched into the women's part of the camp, where Mrs. Frank died from exhaustion. The Van Daans and the dentist too lost their lives.
Now, after their arrest in the beginning of September, so these Allied armies were rapidly approaching the Netherlands. So the Franks and the Van Daans and the dentist, the Jews, were carried in cattle trucks to Auschwitz. It is a Nazi death camp in southern Poland. There the Nazis separated Otto Frank from his wife and daughters without giving them a chance to say goodbye or farewell. Now the ladies, that is Mrs. Frank and Margaret, they were marched into the women's part of the camp, and there Mrs. Frank died from exhaustion, and the Van Daans and the dentist too lost their lives. So now it was only Margaret, Anne Frank, and Otto Frank. These three were alive.
And proved to be a courageous leader of a small Auschwitz group. When there was nothing to eat, she dared to go to the kitchen to ask for food. She constantly told Margaret never to give in. Once she passed hundreds of Hungarian Jewish children who were standing naked in freezing rain, waiting to be led to the gas chambers, unable to grasp the horrors inflicted upon them in the world of adults. "Oh, look, their eyes," she whispered.
In the concentration camp, Anne was very courageous. She was like a courageous leader of her small group. When there was nothing to eat, she used to go to the kitchen daringly and ask for food. And she constantly said Margaret, her elder sister, never to give up. She always told her to fight and never to give up. And once she passed hundreds of Hungarian Jewish children. They were standing naked in freezing rain. It was so cold, and they were waiting to be led to the gas chambers. And looking at that, she couldn't control the horror. She felt so scared looking at that in the world of adults, and people are doing this. And she whispered to Margaret, "Oh, look, their eyes. They were just children."
Later in the autumn, she and her sister were transported to another camp, Belsen. between Berlin and Hamburg. A close friend saw her there, cold and hungry, her head shaved and her skeleton like form draped in the coarse, shapeless, striped garb of the concentration camp. She was pitifully weak, her body racked by typhoid fever. She died early in March 1945, a few days after Margaret. Both were buried in a mass grave.
Later in the autumn season, she and her sister were transported to another camp, Belsen, between Berlin and Hamburg. It's a place. A close friend of hers, she saw her there and she describes that Anne Frank was cold and hungry. Her head was shaved and her body was just skeleton. That is, she was very weak. She was cold, she was hungry, her head was shaved, and all that was left in her body was just skeleton. She was so weak, her body racked by typhoid fever, and because of that, she died in March 1945, and it was a few days after Margaret. So Margaret had died, and then Anne Frank also gave up her life. Both were buried in a mass grave.
In Auschwitz, Otto Frank had managed somehow to stay alive. He was freed early in 1945 by the Prussians, and in the summer he arrived back in liberated Amsterdam. A friend had told him that his wife had died, but he kept on hoping that Anne and Margaret would return. After 6 weeks of waiting, he met someone who had to tell him that both had perished. It was only then that Miep, his former typist, handed him Anne's diaries.
Now, in Auschwitz, where Otto Frank was still in the camp, he somehow managed to stay alive, and finally he was freed early in 1945 by the Russians, and in the summer he arrived back in Amsterdam, and a friend had told him that his wife had died. So he kept on hoping. He had a feeling that maybe his daughters will come back to him. After 6 weeks of waiting, he met someone, and that person informed him that even Margaret and Anne Frank, both of your daughters, they too have died. And it was only then that Meep, the former typist who used to help them in their hiding, she handed him Anne's diaries.
In life. A week after the Frank family had been arrested, Miep had boldly written to the annex. A heap of papers lay on the floor. Miep recognized Anne's handwriting and decided to keep the diaries but not to read it. Had she read it, she would have found detailed information on the help she and other people had given the Frank family at the risk of their own lives, and she might well have decided to destroy the diary for reasons of safety.
So, a week after the Frank family had been arrested, what happened was Meep, the typist who used to help them, she returned to the annex. She wanted to go there and see. So, when she went there, she saw a lot of papers and books were lying on the floor. Meep recognized Anne's handwriting and she decided to keep the diary safe till they return back. And she wanted to give it back to her, but she did not read it. If she would have read it, she would have found detailed information on the help that she and other people were giving to the Frank family, and it was a risk of their own lives. And she would have thought of destroying the diary for her own safety, because if anyone finds out, then they also would be killed.
It took Otto Frank many weeks to finish reading what his dead child had written. He broke down after every few pages. As his old mother was still alive, she had emigrated to Switzerland, where other near relatives lived. He started copying the manuscript for her. Some passages which he felt to be too intimate or which might hurt other people's feelings were left out by him. The idea of publishing the diary did not enter his mind. He gave one typed copy to a close friend who lent it to a professor of modern history. Much to Otto Frank's surprise, the professor devoted an article to it in a Dutch newspaper. His friends now urged Otto Frank to have Anne's diary published as she herself had wished. In one passage, she had written, I want to publish a book entitled The Annex After the War. My diary can serve this purpose. When Anne's father finally consented to publication, the manuscript was refused by two well-known Dutch publishers. A third decided to accept it, and he sold more than 150,000 copies of the Dutch edition.
Now, Otto Frank, he started reading his dead child's diary, and it took many weeks for him to complete it. And after every few pages, he would break down, he would start crying. As his mother was alive, she had emigrated to Switzerland, where other near relatives lived. So what did he do was he started copying the manuscript for her, and some passages which he felt it might be too intimate or it might hurt other people's feelings, he skipped it. Now he did not have any idea of publishing the diary into a book. He didn't think of it. He gave one typed copy to a close friend of his, and that person lent it to a professor of modern history. To Otto Frank's surprise, the professor of modern history, he wrote an article to the Dutch newspaper about this. After that, Otto Frank's friends, they started forcing him to have it published. They started telling that even Anne Frank would want it to be published because it was her wish. She had written it in a passage that I want to publish a book given the title The Annex After the War, and my diary can serve this purpose. So finally, Anne's father agreed to publish the diary. Now the manuscript that was written, it was refused by two well-known Dutch publishers, and finally the third one decided to publish it, and he sold more than 150,000 copies of the Dutch edition.
Other editions followed. 250,000 sold in Britain, a like number in Japan, 435,000 in the United States. Otto Frank began to receive hundreds of letters. One from Italy was addressed, Otto Frank, father of Anne Frank, Amsterdam. A few people doubted the authenticity of the diary. Most wrote to express their admiration and grief. Girls of Anne's age poured out their troubles. Oh, Mr. Frank, wrote one girl, she is so much like me that sometimes I do not know where myself begins and Anne Frank ends. Numerous people sent small presents. Some exquisite dolls were made for him by Japanese girls. A Dutch sculptress presented him with a statue of Anne. On the birthdays of Anne and Margaret, flowers arrived anonymously.
Now after this, the other editions followed. There was 250,000 sold in Britain, a similar number to Japan, 435,000 in the United States. So Otto Frank began to receive hundreds of letters, and one was from Italy, and he received it, and it was written Otto Frank, father of Anne Frank. A few people doubted the authenticity of the diary. They thought that it was not real, but most of them expressed their happiness and also sorrow, grief. And girls of Anne's age, they started writing their troubles to Mr. Frank. And in that, one girl had written, Mr. Frank, she's so much like me that sometimes I do not know where myself begins and Anne Frank ends. So he started getting many letters. And some people would send him small presents, gifts. Some dolls were made for him by some Japanese girls. Some had given him a statue of Anne. And on the birthdays of Anne and Margaret, he would get lot of flowers anonymously, no name. He would get many.
So many letters poured in that Otto Frank was forced to retire from business. The care of his daughter's diary had become his passion, his mission in life. All royalties were devoted to humanitarian causes which he felt would have been approved by Anne. All letters were answered by him personally. Every day, new ones sadly reminded him of the losses he had suffered, but he felt that there was truth and consolation in what the head mistress of one of England's largest schools wrote to him. It must be a source of deep joy to you in all your sorrow to know that Anne's brief life is, in the deepest sense, only just the beginning.
Now, Otto Frank, he started getting so many letters that he was forced to retire from his business, and he thought that taking care of his daughter's diary had become his passion and the mission in life, and he thought that this is what I'm gonna do. And all royalties were devoted to humanitarian causes, which he felt would have been approved by Anne. Even Anne would have been very happy, and all the letters that he used to get, he used to answer them personally, and every day new ones sadly reminded him of the losses that he had suffered. He felt there was truth and consolation, and one letter the headmistress of one of the England's largest schools had written. So it is actually a deep sorrow to you that you have lost so many things in your life now. But because of that, you're getting this is just the beginning.
The most remarkable response came from Germany. When the book's first printing of 4,500 copies came out in Germany in 1950, many booksellers were afraid to put it in their windows.
And the most remarkable response, the wonderful response, came from Germany. When the book's first printing of 4,500 copies, when it had come out in Germany in 1950, many booksellers were afraid to put it in their windows. They were scared.
Mass appeal. When the play opened in 7 German cities simultaneously, no one knew how the audiences would react. The drama progressed through its 8 brief scenes. No Nazis were seen on the stage, but their ominous presence made itself felt every minute. Finally, at the end, Nazi jackboots were heard storming upstairs to raid the hiding place. At the close of the epilogue, only Anne's father was on the stage, a lonely old man. Quietly, he told how he received news that his wife and daughters had died. Picking up Anne's slim diary, he turned back the pages to find a certain passage, and as he found it, her young, confident voice was heard, saying, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart."
Now her diary was converted into a play. So when the play opened in 7 German cities simultaneously, no one knew how the audience would react because it was for the first time. Now the drama progressed through its 8 brief scenes. So the play had main 8 scenes and no Nazis were seen on the stage. But their presence, they would feel it. And finally, at the end, when the Nazi booth were heard storming upstairs to raid the hiding place, only the footsteps would be heard. They didn't show any Nazis on stage. So at the close of that epilogue, only Anne's father was standing on the stage, a lonely old man. And quietly, he told how he received news that his wife and daughters had died. And picking up the Anne's slim diary that was on the floor, he turned some pages and he searched a particular passage and he said in a very confident voice, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart."
Packed audiences received Anne Frank's tragedy in a silence heavy with remorse. In Dusseldorf, people did not even go out during the interval. They sat in their seats as if afraid of the lights outside, ashamed to face each other. Someone reported. The Dusseldorf producer, Kuno Apple, explained, "Anne Frank has succeeded because it enables the audience to come to grips with history personally and without denunciation. We watch it as an indictment in the most humble, pitiful terms of inhumanity to fellow men. No one accuses us as Germans, we accuse ourselves."
Now the audience that had gathered, they received Anne's tragedy in a silence. They felt very sad looking at it. And in Dusseldorf, people did not even go out during the interval, and they sat in their seats as if they were afraid of lights outside, and they were ashamed to face each other that when they were alive all this was happening and they didn't do anything to save the lives of these people. And the Dusseldorf user, He says that Anne Frank's life, it has succeeded because it shows the audience history and what all they had to go through. It's like a live experience. We have to come with terms with the pitifulness that it has shown towards humanity. It is inhuman to act like that, and we don't accuse Germans of it. We accuse ourselves. We were wrong.
For years, Germany's post war administrators toiled to make people feel the senseless and criminal nature of the Nazi regime. On the whole, they failed. The Diary of Anne Frank succeeded. Leading actors received dozens of letters. I was a good Nazi, a typical letter read, but I never knew what it meant until the other night. German school children sent Otto Frank letters signed by entire classes telling him that Anne's diary had opened their eyes to the viciousness of racial persecution. In West Berlin, an Anne Frank home was opened, devoted to social work for young people. The people of Berlin had chosen her name to symbolize the spirit of racial and social tolerance. Elsewhere in Germany, an organization was set up, named after her, to combat remaining vestiges of anti Semitism. In Vienna, money was collected for Anne Frank forest to be planted in Israel.
Now, for years, Germany's post-war administrators they tried making people feel that it was not wrong of the Nazi regime, but on the whole they failed. And the Diary of Anne Frank succeeded. And the leading actors of the play, of the drama, they started receiving dozens of letters. So German school children sent Otto Frank letters signed by entire classes telling him that Anne's diary had opened their eyes to the racial discrimination. Even in West Berlin, Anne Frank home was opened. It was devoted to social work for young people, and the people of Berlin had chosen her name because they wanted to symbolize the spirit of racial and social tolerance. And somewhere else in Germany, an organization was set up named after her. It was to combat remaining vestiges of anti Semitism. So in Vienna, money was collected for Anne Frank forest to be planted in Israel.
In March 1957, a Hamburg student suggested that flowers should be laid on the mass graves in Bergen-Belsen, where Anne Frank had found her last resting place. More than 2,000 young people eagerly answered his appeal. Hundreds pedaled on bikes 120 kilometers in lashing rain. Standing in front of one of the mass graves, a 17-year-old girl expressed what all felt. Anne Frank was younger than we are when her life was so horribly ended. She had to die because others had decided to destroy her race. Never again among our people must such a diseased and inhuman hatred arise.
Now, in the year 1957, in the month of March, a Hamburg student he suggested that flowers should be laid on the mass graves where Anne Frank had found her last resting place. So, more than 2,000 people had gathered and come there with flowers, and hundreds they came on their bike 120 kilometers in lashing rain, and standing in front of one of the mass graves, a 17-year-old, she was a schoolgirl, she expressed what she felt, and she said she was younger to us and she had to die because others had decided to destroy her race, and never again among our people, we people never again must do such a hatred thing, and this disease shouldn't spread. It should stop right there.
Anne's brief life is indeed only a beginning. She carries the message of courage and tolerance all over the world. She lives even after death.
Now, Anne's brief life that we have shown in this lesson is only a beginning, and she carries the message of courage and tolerance all over the world. She's so famous and she lives even after her death. We still remember her. I hope you have understood the lesson. In case you have any doubts, you can please comment below, and thank you for watching. Do subscribe to my channel for more videos.